So just what is it that makes up a great personal estate plan? Every great personal estate plan has two parts to it. What I call the Schiavo Documents, that is the Advance Health Care Directives, financial powers of attorney, etc., that are used in the event of one's incapacity, and management and distribution documents, specifically the living trust, that is to be used in the event of incapacity or death. Let's talk a little bit about the first part, what I call the Schiavo Documents. Do you remember the poor woman Terri Schiavo, the one in Florida who was incapacitated while in a coma, and whose husband and parents battled over the control of her person for years? That was an unfortunate and very costly experience. I mean, they battled in the Florida court system, the federal court system, even the U.S. Congress got involved. It was just a horrible spectacle that certainly could have been avoided had Mrs. Schiavo created her own personal estate plan. The only reason you and I had ever heard of her was because she had not. So the first part of a good estate plan revolves around preparing for the possibility of incapacity. Incapacity is a serious risk that can lead to what is sometimes known as the living probate. But why should you be concerned? Well, as I previously mentioned, you are many times more likely to become incapacitated than die prematurely. The potential for conflict is obvious. Just look at what happened in the Schiavo case. No one is authorized to act as the decision maker. No direction is given, which can lead to substantial guilt. Out-of-date documents can be ineffective at just the wrong time. So how will you or the ones you love obtain the authority to take care of you or another should this problem arise? Well, there are two possibilities. If you're on the government plan, you'll have to obtain authority to act by petitioning the probate court for a conservatorship over the incapacitated person. The problem with this process is that it's time-consuming, expensive. It creates delay. It is cumbersome. It's also a public process, and it's emotionally trying. The other possibility is create the documents needed to avoid the probate court. That is, create your own personal estate plan, which will avoid ugly conflicts before they arise. Create a succession of decision makers. It will eliminate the guilt. Avoid expensive court proceedings. Avoid delays and publicity. It will provide authority to act when needed and will provide adequate instructions. As important, your plan will assure its availability 24/7, 365 days a year, no matter where in the world you are. Now, the documents required to avoid probate court intervention are your durable powers of attorney for health care, sometimes referred to as your health care directive, your durable powers of attorney for financial matters, your HIPAA directive, and of course, your living will. Naturally, you'll want to make sure your documents are up to date and otherwise effective. Now let's talk a moment about the second part of any good personal estate plan. I'm speaking of the document that will provide for the proper management and distribution of your life's work in accordance with your goals. This document is generally referred to as a living trust. Now, the living trust plans for the possibility of you becoming incapacitated. It plans for your loved ones upon your passing. It avoids the probate process. It will generally reflect your hopes, fears, and values. It is difficult to attack. It is good in every state and will avoid unnecessary estate tax. Now, a living trust will always have two fundamental components. The death plan component, which embodies the traditional living trust program most often seen. This is essentially the death plan incorporating the basic elements of probate avoidance and the elimination of unnecessary estate taxation, but that's basically it. The life plan component adds additional protections most living trust programs do not. These important life plan elements include protections for your spouse, your children, and for your grandchildren against lawsuits, divorce, predators, bankruptcy, inadvertent disinheritance, and more. I'll speak more about whether a living trust is right for you and the differences between death plan and life plan components in our following segments.